Hi, I'm Tom. I just wanted to ask, have you any advice or top tips for any upcoming musicians or any kind of wisdom you'd like to share?
Of course. I think the key. Have you ever heard of this theory about the 10,000 hours theory? So that theory works,
Macklemore
right?
song
So
as well.
when I first started out, I saw Damien Rice in concert, and I mention it in a song. I said I won't stop till my name's in lights. Stadium Heights with Damien Rice, and literally like I watched him and was like, I want to do that one day, and wrote a million songs, did a million gigs, and have ended up kind of doing a similar thing. But it literally came from writing a song a day or 2 songs a day or 5 songs a day and just getting all these songs out of me, doing a million gigs, sometimes 3 gigs a day. Sometimes we did 6 gigs a day one year at Glastonbury. But I think you view it as a dirty tap. When you switch a dirty tap on, it's going to flow shit water out for a substantial amount of time, and then clean water is going to start flowing, and now and then you'll get a bit of shit, but as long as it gets out of you, it's fine. So with songs, you're going to write shit songs at the beginning. You are. My songs were terrible. My raps were terrible. Like, I listened to it the other day, it was awful. But I got it out of me, and the more and more you write, the more and more you experience, and then you start flowing clean water, and songs start getting better and better and better. And when you're on a good streak, you're writing good songs, now and then you're going to write a shit song, and that song is out of you, and you can move on. And it's the same with gigs. Like, you will always play bad gigs at the beginning. That's what you need to do, and then the more gigs you do, the better you'll get. Now and then you'll have a shit gig, but that's all right because you've got it out of you and you've experienced it. So I just say the more and more you can do, you put in your 10,000 hours, write as many songs as possible, gig as much as possible. Always be nice to people, because that is how the music industry works now. It doesn't work on who's the best. It works on who's got the best music and who's the nicest. That's why the people at the top of the chart. That's why Gary Barlow's been big for so many years, because he's such a lovely bloke. Everyone wants to help him out. Ollie Murs, fantastic. He's really nice to everyone. That's why it works. Whereas you see certain singers who may not be nice to everyone, and then they have a slow decline. I don't know. But yeah, I'd say be nice, write songs, do gigs.
Yes, never play to the gallery. I think, but you never learn that until much later on, I think. But never work for other people at what you do. Always remember that the reason that you initially started working was that there was something inside yourself that you felt that if you could manifest it in some way, you would understand more about yourself and how you coexist with the rest of society. And I think it's terribly dangerous for an artist to fulfill other people's expectations. I think they generally produce their worst work when they do that. And the other thing I would say is that if you feel safe in the area that you're working in, you're not working in the right area. Always go a little further into the water than you feel you're capable of being in. Go a little bit out of your depth. And when you don't feel that your feet are quite touching the bottom, you're just about in the right place to do something exciting. Very much a child and product of the early 60s. It seemed to me to be terribly exciting and maybe kind of glamorous to be a commercial artist. That's what I kind of thought I wanted to do when I was 12. I thought it must be, because I was impressed with things like The Father and Dennis the Menace, who had those check jackets and the big glasses on, and the crew cut. That was a very hip look then, you know, to anybody in Britain. I don't think it was in America. But at the time I thought, that's Madison Avenue, you know, that's advertising, that's the place to be. I think the difference that most artists have, the ones that I come across, we tend to think our opinions are a lot more important than other people's in some way. That often we feel as though we have the key to something. I don't think that we do at all. I just think we dwell on it more. We tend to look at the world as some usable substance more than a non-artist would. I think for many people, just getting through life is enough. That's a big enough task, let alone having to look at the world and the universe and say, now, if I had my way, the way that I work, I will either be extraordinarily accepted, or otherwise I reach a point where I've got 7 people listening to what I do. I mean, there's never in between, at least. And it's been like that all my life, you know. People have either really accepted what I do, or they absolutely sort of push it away from them. And I guess I've gotten used to that, and that's kind of, I guess that's what I am, you know. Sometimes I'm useful currency, and other times I'm not. I guess it's all about communication in some ways. How do you communicate those deepermost feelings that are probably fairly hard to articulate? Well, I suppose since I stopped doing drugs and drinking, I think probably I really prize getting up early in the morning, which is something that happens. I now find for years now I've gotten up regularly at 6 in the morning. It doesn't matter what time I go to bed, I still get up, which is not a great thing actually when I'm rehearsing, because you rehearse pretty late. But I still get up at 6. I enjoy the fact of seeing the light come up with me and then utilizing the daylight and what it brings and the kind of message that it brings. It's a different message from when you're living in twilight hours, and things get very symbolic representationally. If you live through the twilight hours and the early hours of the morning, there's a shadow to your life all the time. You know, psychologically, you're in the dark as well as physically in the dark. And it's something that I find very uplifting and optimistic and creative about working and being very much in the daylight. If I found myself in some kind of cul-de-sac in the music, I'd break down the problem by actually painting it. I'd try and visualize what the problem was, that a sense of these textures were grating against each other in a way that wasn't admirable. And I try and visualize those textures and paint them and then find out what was wrong. And then when I'd solve that problem, I'd take it back into the studio. I've never really compartmentalized things. Everything for me is just this flux of doing stuff. Some of it's music and some of it's visual. And the two have always been very entwined. It's going to affect me, whether I like it or not. I'm going to be pained by the people that don't like it, and I'm going to be bolstered by people who do like it. What it won't do is change the way that I work, which is probably the most important thing. But whatever I hear, and people will insist on sending me any criticism, I'll get over it fairly quickly. I'm not thick-skinned, but I'm not thin-skinned either. But I've gotten used to the fact that you just can't please all the people all the time. And I've got no great desire to be loved in a major way by faceless, anonymous crowds. It doesn't really, it's not part of something that I want. Yes, never play to the gallery. I think, but you never learn that until much later on, I think. But never work for other people in what you do. Always remember that the reason that you initially started working was that there was something inside yourself that you felt that if you could manifest it in some way, you would understand more about yourself and how you coexist with the rest of society. And I think it's terribly dangerous for an artist to fulfill other people's expectations. I think they generally produce their worst work when they do that. And the other thing I would say is that if you feel safe in the area that you're working in, you're not working in the right area. Always go a little further into the water than you feel you're capable of being in. Go a little bit out of your depth. And when you don't feel that your feet are quite touching the bottom, you're just about in the right place to do something exciting. I wish I could be altruistic and say, no, it's just for the moment. But I would like to feel, especially in music, I would love to feel that what I did actually changed the fabric of music. And I think I've been very fortunate that I've actually seen it happen within my lifetime. I mean, I've seen music, modern music, change so dramatically over the last 25 years. And I've got a fairly shrewd idea of how much, say, myself and Brian Eno had to do with changing aspects of it, you know. And I'm sure many people from my generation, because it's such a fast event horizon in popular music, many of us have been able to see the changes that we've made, from the Stones to name anybody you would want to, really. And so that's pretty satisfying, you know, because we've seen it happen.